For generations now, we have heard of the Chosen One, the one who will bring balance to the Force. But what does that mean? It seems like the characters in the Star Wars films don't even know. Does it mean killing all the Jedi to make them even with the Sith population? Does it mean making the Force overall, an entity in the universe, more balanced? Long ago, before the rise of the Sith, and before the empire of the original Red Sith, and even before the first Jedi, there were the Jedi. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, I've only ever read the word, not heard it said. And if someone else has come up with something similar, I have yet to find it. I checked all over YouTube and found nothing similar. So anyway, the Jedi. Who were they? They sound very familiar to the Jedi. Well, the Jedi were the original organized Force users. About 36,453 BBY, which means 36,453 years before the destruction of the Death Star, giant ships called the Tho-Yor traveled across the galaxy collecting Force sensitives, then returning them to the planet Tython. The Tho-Yor are never really explained themselves, and seem to be entities that are even older than the Jedi. What we do know is that they seem to be the first temples of the Jedi on the planet Tython, teaching the Force sensitives neither the dark side nor the light side, but rather balance in the Force. Tython itself was a Force-sensitive planet, and when the Force of the inhabitants swayed too dark or too light, the planet would have hurricanes and earthquakes until the balance was restored. The two moons of Tython embodied the dark and the light sides. Ashla embodied the light side, while Bogan embodied the dark. If a disciple were to sway too far on one side of the Force, they were sent to meditate on the opposite moon until they chilled out. The meaning of the word Jedi comes from the language of the Dai Bendu monks. Je means mystic, and Dai means center, so Jedi means mystic center. Is it too much to assume that the origins of the word Jedi come from Jedi, and the original intent of Force users was to stay in the mystic center rather than choose light or dark? Well, the Jedi did not last forever, obviously. It's very complicated, but basically when they were touched by the Infinite Empire, there was a civil war. Half the Jedi found power in the light moon Ashla, while the other half found power only in the dark moon, Bogan, and so the first dark and light Force users came to be. After a decade of war, the light users formed the group, the Jedi Order, promising to only use their powers to protect the weak. From this group of the original Jedi Order came the faction of dark-side rulers that are the ancestors of the Sith today. I mean, the Sith are a lot more complicated than that, but I'm trying to keep it simple. There used to be a whole race of actual people called the Sith who were heavily intertwined with the dark side of the Force, but they were not really evil, just more like Klingon culture. They interbred with other sentient races and so on until their morals and sentimental feelings and stuff were all gone, leaving only an empire of assholes called the Sith Empire, which fell and left behind what we know as the Sith today. Again, it was way more complicated than that, but I'm trying to keep this simple. The Jedi Order also used to be a lot more relaxed. Thousands of years ago, Jedi were allowed to take any master they wanted, and also could start training at any age. They were also allowed to fall in love and have families. Then the Jedi Council was formed, and they made a bunch of ridiculous rules that were impossible to follow, damning anyone who didn't follow them as Dark Jedi, pretty much forcing anyone with a boner to be a Sith or hang out in the woods alone. So basically, a long time ago, even the Sith and other evil or good factions all used to align a lot closer in terms of morality and Force use. And over the many thousands of years, each faction has updated and refined the rules of their orders to become more and more radical, making anyone who falls in between forced to choose between two extremes. So Mari, where are you going with this? Well, in The Force Awakens, all of Luke's friends say he disappeared to go find the first Jedi Temple. But what if they misunderstood? What if he was trying to find the first Jedi temples? The ones that taught true balance in the Force. The balance that has been promised for generations. The movie's depiction of the planet Luke is on looks similar to depictions of Tython. They're both watery planets that are similar to Earth in some ways, but it's kind of hard to tell. I know that the movie script refers to the planet Ahch-To. However, it could be that the planet has been renamed since it's been about 36,000 years. So if all the movies of Star Wars are about finding balance in the Force, and Tython is the origin of all Force disciples that originally taught balance, and Kylo Ren embodies both the dark and the light side according to Snoke, and Luke Skywalker is truly ashamed of failing his nephew by not stopping him from falling to the dark side, then doesn't it make sense that Luke would seek out the original Jedi temples in order to find a way to save Kylo Ren, his nephew that he still must love in some ways? He witnessed the redemption of his own father. Is it too much to think that Luke still has hope and is seeking a way to save his sister's son, Ben Solo? Maybe Luke sees the error in having light and dark factions as the only options, and sees the pain it causes for people like Kylo Ren and Anakin Skywalker. Maybe he's trying to find the middle path for those who fall in between.